Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? What we're going to be talking about today is signs. Signs that things are being turned upside down, literally. You know, they wanted to fundamentally transform America as we know it, and they have succeeded. So now, instead of leave it to beaver, we have a society where literally anything goes. Our families are disintegrating. Traditional values, moral values, have been completely discarded. Our young people are running wild in the streets. Crime is totally out of control. And our system of governments is melting down right in front of our eyes. So what is going to happen to our once great nation if things just continue to go down this path and get even worse? Well, our politicians like to tell us that America is great because America is good. But the truth is, America stopped being good a real long time ago. There are 10 signs that U.S. culture is being turned completely upside down. And the first one is that it's finally happened. The elite have such disdain for the choices that average Americans, of average Americans, that some of them are starting to float the idea that elections should be eliminated. And that's a bad idea. But this is what was actually said in an article that the New York Times published just last week that was originally entitled "Elections Are Bad for Democracy." This is what was in the article. Officials have been working hard to safeguard elections and assure citizens of their integrity. But if we want public office to have integrity, we might be better off eliminating elections altogether. Let that sink in for just a moment. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that. So the second thing is that the war on the family continues to escalate. And it is now being projected that 45% of all U.S. women in their prime working years will be single and childless by the year 2030. We are told by our culture that a woman who is unmarried, has no children, is empowered and in charge of her own life. She has escaped the unnecessary burden of raising a family and being a slave to her husband. I'm married almost 27 years. That's not being a slave. It's called being in love. But at least that's what our society has convinced us of. Morgan Stanley, they estimate that 45% of women in their prime working years, which is ages 25 to 44, will be single and childless by the year 2030. So the third thing is theft. Theft is going to cost the U.S. retailers more than $100 billion this year. We've watched the videos, we've heard of the looting and the crazy and the flash mobs that go in and they just steal and steal and steal. And we try and wrap our brains around it and saying, what is the motive behind it? Why are they doing this? And it's not like they're stealing food. No, what are they doing? They're going to high-end stores and stealing purses and jewelry and clothing. Why? For resale? Who knows? At this point, it's organized retail crime. And it has become such a crisis that even Dollar Tree is being forced to take drastic measures. The company that runs Dollar Tree and Family Dollar has several new shrink formats that it intends to roll out in the final 6 months of the year. Shrink typically means theft and other types of inventory losses in the retail industry. So it goes from everything from certain SKUs, the SKU number on an item, to being behind the check stand. It has to do with some cases being locked up, and even to the point where you have some stores that can't keep a certain SKU number on the shelf, just discontinuing that certain item, if that makes sense. The next one, number 4, Yale, the college, is one of the most prestigious universities in the entire world. Unfortunately, at this point, violent crime in the city of New Haven is off the charts. Yale University is running to reassure that freshman students and parents, after the school's police union, which is in the midst of contract negotiations, distributing flyers with stark warnings about high crime in New Haven, Connecticut, complete with a graphic of a grim reaper. They warned incoming students to avoid walking alone, avoid public transport, forget nightlife, okay? Students should stay in their dorms and off the streets after 8 p.m. Now, presented by the Yale Police Benevolent Association as a survival guide for the first-year students of Yale University, the flyers were distributed on freshman move-in day. The incidence of crime and violence in New Haven is shockingly high, and it's getting worse. And this is what the flyers are saying. During the 7th-month period ending on July 23rd of 2023, homicides have doubled, burglaries are up 33%, motor vehicle thefts are up 56%. So the 5th thing is a man in Texas was forcibly removed from a school board meeting for reading a book that had actually been available in a library at the school district. And this happened on a Tuesday during a school board meeting by law enforcement while he read a passage. He read a passage from an explicit book that was previously available in the district's library. His name is Mike C., C-E-E. He was escorted out of a Fort Worth Independent School District board meeting that he began reading these passages from the book called Flamer by Mike Curato, C-U-R-A-T-O. Now, this book is described as a semi-autobiographical graphic novel that was set in 1995 that follows a story of a child named Eden as he navigates friendships, deals with bullies, and spends time with Elias, who is a boy that he can't stop thinking about. And he finds himself on a path of self-discovery and acceptance. So the next thing is, it seems like there is a mass shooting somewhere in America almost every single day now. The latest incident just occurred in the city of Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know if you saw any of the videos, but I watched them. It shows the moment that a crazed moron, I'm just going to call him that, he entered a Dollarville in Jacksonville, Florida, armed with an AR, and he shot 3 people in a attack that they say, I'm not quite sure, but the sheriff said that it was racially motivated. The gunman was identified as Ryan Palmater, who's 21 years old, and they confirmed this. They also detailed a manifesto that he left behind, calling it the Diary of a Madman. Now, he used his assault rifle covered in certain symbols of a certain leader who is gone for a long time, an AZI, in the assault before turning the gun on himself. And that is according to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Yeah. So the seventh thing is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is admitting that vehicle theft is completely out of control in his city. But instead of going after thieves, he filed a lawsuit against Kia and Hyundai. That makes no sense. But his office announced that the city filed the lawsuit against Kia and Hyundai, alleging that both companies have failed to include industry standard engine immobilizers in several vehicles, which resulted in steep rise in crime. So the impact of car theft in Chicago residents can be deeply destabilizing, particularly for low to middle income workers who have few options for getting to work and taking care of their families. This is what Johnson said. And the failure of Kia and Hyundai to install basic auto theft prevention technology in these models is sheer negligence, and as a result, the citywide and nationwide crime spree around automobile theft has been unfolding right before our eyes, he said. Yeah. So the next thing is, instead of cracking down on crime, federal law enforcement authorities are using their resources to raid Amish cattle farmers. I spoke about this in a video that I did yesterday. Yeah, and I feel really bad for Mr. Fisher, and if there was a way that we could support him and his business, I so totally would. So, you know, how they did this is unreal, and I do not approve of it at all. You know, he's a father of 5 children. And it's a tumultuous time on his farm, in his family life, and it's an upheaval that threatened to upend this man's livelihood. And that's why, because he was literally convicted of these crimes just on August 3rd. And that's why I titled the video Convictions of a Man's Way to, like, you know, feed his family, because that's exactly what this is. He was literally convicted of trying to feed his family. And it's disgusting. You know, leave the Amish alone. That plain and simple, just leave them alone. So the next thing is the number of transition surgeries in the United States has nearly tripled in just a 3-year period. Transition surgeries nearly tripled in the United States between 2016 and 2019, with breast and chest procedures accounting for 56.6% of all operations, results of a study that was published. And close behind was the private area reconstruction, which made up 35.1%, following by facial and cosmetic procedures at 13.9%. And the greatest number of procedures overall were undergone by women 19 to 30 years old, with when you have private insurance and people with higher incomes. Now, most procedures occur in the West and were performed in urban teaching hospitals. So the last thing that is on this list that I want to talk about is the fact that 46 is asking Congress for money for a new shot. Yeah. And he is admitting that it will likely be recommended that everybody get it no matter whether they've gotten it before or not. And 46 is vacationing in Lake Tahoe area. And he was asked by a reporter on Friday if he could say anything about the uptick in cases and a new variant. And he goes, yeah, sure, I can. He said, I signed off this morning on a proposal that we have to present to Congress a request for additional funding for a new shot that is necessary, and it works. And he added, tentatively, it is recommended that everybody get it no matter whether they had it before or not. So, you know, my opinion, our society is going to continue to change. Nothing can stop that, okay? Nobody can stop it. Nobody. I don't care who you are. But the direction of the change can be altered, right? So those who have been transforming our culture are just going to keep on doing what they've been doing. And all that is going to take for them to succeed is for good people to stand by and do absolutely nothing. Right? So it's going to take the good people to stand up and stop them. But the thing is, who has the money and the power, the good people, I mean, to actually stand up and do it? You know? All right, guys, I'm out of here. I will see you in the next one, okay? You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless. Ciao.